Coming up on tonight's UAP News Show, from Capitol Hill to cosmic truth, what Kirk McConnell just revealed. Jake Barber and Matthew Pines team up. What's coming next for Skywatcher? JFK Assassination Hearings, is the truth finally here? And drones, helicopters, and near misses, the latest on the UAP drone crisis. Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie. We are back at it again for another episode of UAP Society's weekly UAP News Show. I am stoked to get started and riding solo tonight, so let's just hop right in. Up first, from Capitol Hill to cosmic truth, what Kirk McConnell just revealed. Buckle up, truth seekers. This one's not just hot, it's nuclear, like literally. In this latest episode of American Alchemy, Jesse Michels sits down with Kirk McConnell, a former Senate intelligence staffer who spent 18 years on Capitol Hill watching in real time how the deepest secrets of the UFO world were buried in bureaucracy. McConnell isn't just here to speculate, he's here to clarify on what disclosure actually means, what's already in the open, yes, you heard that right, and why the real breakthroughs, exotic science, reverse engineered tech, and maybe even a totally different technology regarding energy are being buried in corporate shell programs with zero oversight. Oh, and did I mention he drops new footage? Geoff Cruikshank digs up official documents confirming a nuclear recovery op. And Malmgren's long-dismissed account of the tag-along UFO shot down during Bluegill Triple Prime is also to be seen. It's now backed by measurable radioactivity reports, physical debris, and reverse engineering trails. It's not just speculation anymore. This story is verifiable and already in the public domain. So why are we still acting like disclosure hasn't happened? And then enter Harold and Pippa Malmgren, who tie this story directly to the JFK assassination. Mic drop. McConnell's cool, clear, no-spin delivery is your signal that something has shifted behind the scenes. This interview might just be the turning point. More insiders are watching, some are talking, and the rest are getting ready. Let's take a look at the clip of that convo now.
Kirk, have you spoken to anybody in a classified setting or not who has seen craft firsthand?
You mean seen recovered craft?
Recovered
crash,
yeah.
Craft and or stuff that we may have built.
Yeah.
Yes. These are people who found their way one way or another to us on Capitol Hill and met with senators and who made precisely those kinds of claims.
When you say stuff that we could have built, you don't mean a B-2 or F-117 or F-35 going down, right?
No, the allegations are that we have
reverse engineered.
We have reverse engineered something that at least has some of the capabilities that UFOs and UAP have reportedly displayed. Well, Jesse, I would say first of all that your question is how does one go about proving this?
Yeah.
And I will take that with respect to my personal situation as a staff member for a committee in Congress, that we had very limited ability to determine the veracity of these reports. First of all, the folks who were telling this, making these claims, were not willing to have to come out in public for the most part. Dave Grush is an exception, but Dave doesn't claim absolute direct firsthand knowledge. But more fundamentally, for Congress to undertake the kind of investigation that would be necessary to pry through the kinds of security structures that have allegedly been built around this topic, that's a big lift for elected members of Congress. There are these amazing events that happen. You mentioned Robert Jacobs, the Big Sur event in 1964. But Dr. Harold Malmgren has alerted the world, as it were, to events that took place in 1962. In fact, some of them at the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis. This has been documented by, I think, you, as well as Jeff Cruikshank from Australia. Harold Malmgren, before he passed away, and what a tragic loss, I might add. He was such an incredible, statesman, diplomat, defense thinker, economist, and so forth. And as no sooner had Harold Malmgren been given that assignment, he was contacted by a famous CIA officer, Richard Bissell.
Number 2 in the CIA, deputy director.
That's right. And Bissell met with Malmgren and told him, he said, look, you've been given this assignment to develop missile defense options and to explore the potential for missile defenses to contribute to deterrence. And you need to know that in the test that happened in October 26, 1962, at the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was a test of a special warhead designed to produce enhanced X-ray output called the XW51 X1 or something like that. It was amazing. Malmgren, at 89 years old, rattled off the name of that warhead from memory.
Mm-hmm.
That
he's a genius.
He is, and it was. Okay, so taking you back specifically to that event, we set off that warhead. It was the Bluegill triple prime atmospheric test, and it was designed to destroy a dummy reentry vehicle with this sizable warhead using enhanced X-rays, and the X-rays would have caused this chain of events in the target, where you would get this spallation from inside the inside layers of the reentry vehicle, and it would tear apart the reentry vehicle. So this was the third attempt, as I recall, maybe even the fourth, to test this device in the atmosphere. And it was successful. It exploded as planned, and there were 2 RC-135 Cobra Ball airplanes up taking video of this. One, I think, representing Los Alamos, one representing Lawrence Livermore Lab, and each of those aircraft filmed this fireball and what happened to the test RV. And as soon as that fireball erupts, you see this object come tumbling out of the fireball, heading for the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, this video is available. It's open source. And you see, it's really crazy because Lawrence Livermore, you see the object tumbling out, and then Los Alamos, you see a white triangle superimposing the video.
I thought it was the other way around.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
I thought
maybe
it was Livermore's
was more secret,
that covered up the object.
Interesting.
And it was Los Alamos, and I think the warhead was a Los Alamos design.
Okay.
Anyway, the trivia.
No, that's good correction.
Yeah, so you actually see this object clearly in the Los Alamos video, and what Malmgren reported that he'd been told directly by Bissell is that we downed a UFO that was closely monitoring that test, and it tumbled into the ocean, and that the Navy picked it up. So you mentioned that the video of this test has been declassified and was released. I think it was back in the late 90s, and also released, or declassified and released, were the ship logs, because in tests like that, and this was out near Johnston Atoll, the Navy would have a contingent of ships that would help to collect the debris and the sensors that had been deployed to watch the test. Okay, they would fall into the ocean, then they would be picked up. And part of the information in those ship's logs is that they picked up some highly radioactive debris. One was described as a black sphere. Another was described as a green tube. that were not part of the instrument package that they were supposed to pick up. These were anomalous items floating in the water that they tested them with radioactive detectors, and they had been highly radioactive, meaning they had been very close to the fireball, and they retrieved those. And then there's also a log that says the Navy also conducted a salvage operation. So this lines up perfectly with what Malmgren was told by Richard Bissell. So here's the other interesting thing, though. 5 weeks before that bluegill triple prime test, there was another test. This one was of a new reentry vehicle designed by a company that's now defunct or been absorbed many times over, called Avco. And Avco had built a new reentry vehicle called the Mark IV. And this, too, has all been declassified, where in the test of that new RV, it is released, close to the atmosphere, and you see it traveling at very high speed and starting to re-enter the atmosphere. And all of a sudden behind it, you see this bright white light that catches up to the RV over a fairly significant distance. It catches up to the RV and accompanies it further in its trajectory. And in the official report made to the Defense Department about this test, it says right in there, objects of unknown origin and identity were tracking or pacing, I forget the exact words that were used, the Mark IV reentry vehicle. So this is a UFO.
Wow.
This is a UFO that is closely flying and catching up to a warhead that's going, I don't know, 10,000 miles an hour.
What test was this? What was this called?
Jesse, I don't remember the name of the test, but it's easily found. It was on September 19th, 1962.
Wow. And you see the records of...
Oh, sure. The video is online.
There's the video, and you see it. You see a UFO catching up.
Yes, you see it. You don't see any details, but you see this white object, this luminous object, come roaring up, chasing the reentry vehicle.
That's wild. Can you send that to me? I'd love
sure,
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll link that for people.
And it was reported in the official reports of this,
Unbelievable.
right? And so then let's fast forward like 2 years and approximately 18 months, and Robert Jacobs has an assignment out in Big Sur, California, to film this test of an ICBM launched from Vandenberg, an Atlas, and it's got a dummy warhead on it. And according to Robert Jacobs and his commanding officer, Major Mansman, this is a well-known story. This reentry vehicle is moving at, like, I forget the number, 9,000 to 12,000 miles an hour. And you see this, according to the witnesses of this video, that you see a UFO, and it is saucer-shaped, and it starts flying around the reentry vehicle.
Yep.
And shooting some beams at it, and that it disabled this test reentry vehicle.
A UFO shot down a dummy nuclear warhead. That's what happened.
Now, speaking to Robert Hastings, and he was suggesting that we show the animated portion of his documentary, and I want to play this here because it reinforces or sort of illustrates what you saw. Anyway, here it is.
That is the nose cone opening up, the chaff flying out in front of it, and then the warhead coming out, and see a little rocket motor on the bottom of it, ignites it, and it shoots it into a slightly higher orbit than the chaff. That would certainly fool the Russians. We could go down and obliterate Moscow. This is a better idea of what it looked like to the camera, because this came into the frame. It was a saucer-shaped object with a dome on top of it. It shot a beam of light at the warhead, hit it, flew up over it as I described, hit it with another beam of light, flew in front of it, hit another beam of light, and another beam of light from the bottom, and zipped out of the frame. The warhead tumbled out of the frame.
So why do you think this was made secret in the first place? It's just, it should be kind of ontological truth, right? It should be basic kind of, an understanding of, whether we're alone in the universe should not be classified, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. But what I've thought about that, to the extent I've thought about it, Jesse, is I think, like, right after the war, the leadership in the country, thinking back on the events of the previous couple of decades, and probably felt that we were just exhausted. I mean, we'd been through 2 world wars, this long-lasting depression. We were entering into, well, we were already into a Cold War with the communist regime in Russia. And here we were, experiencing, having to deal with the reality of UFOs and extraterrestrial life, and the like. And I can just so imagine the view that this would be another cataclysmic shock to society and the world order and the world's religions. We were barely, a decade removed from Orson Welles' War of the Worlds event. I think that was in 1938,
And that
and
literally touched off mass hysteria. It was this reading of H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds by Orson Welles, famous auteur
yeah,
director,
yeah.
and people went nuts until they realized it was not real.
Well, that's right, but it was a lesson, right? That the leadership of the country could take and say, this can't be a good idea to let people know about this. I guess I can also imagine that we wanted to figure out what it was all about before we would even ever consider letting this out. When Roswell allegedly happened, it took very little time for Washington to react. And, it didn't take long. Like,
Mhm.
word went out that they had made this announcement back to Washington, and the order to shut the hell up and bottle this up
Mhm.
came pretty quick.
Mhm.
I've always been impressed by that. Almost as if there had been some, long-term awareness and
Mhm.
a decision already made in Washington, like, this is bad news, and so wherever it pops up,
Mhm.
you gotta react to it pretty quickly.
What I loved about that video is that Jesse shared additional documentation and footage of the so-called tag-along UAPs, adding further weight to the story. On top of that, researcher Geoff Cruikshank unearthed documents that directly supported Malmgrom's account of the Navy recovering wreckage from the tag-along object, one that was reportedly shot down during the Bluegill Triple Prime nuclear test. Now, while Malmgrom's credibility for me personally has never been in question, seeing these actual reports, including measured radioactivity, which is consistent with a nearby nuclear explosion, a recovered sphere, and other anomalous debris, take this to another level. This case offers everything disclosure advocates have been asking for. I mean, multiple corroborating sources of data, including video evidence, physical debris, signs of reverse engineering, as implied by Harold Malmgrom, and an orchestrated cover up. And the most astonishing part, it's already in the public domain. This stuff is already available for you guys to go check out and look at. Given that, there should be no legal or procedural barriers preventing surviving whistleblowers from speaking openly about it. I mean, maybe we'll hear from more whistleblowers about this topic. And even more intriguing, in my opinion, is that both Harold and Pippa have directly tied this incident to the larger story of the Kennedy assassination, an implication with massive historical weight that also retroactively validates the testimonies of many other whistleblowers who've come forward over the years. The entire interview with McConnell was quite stunning, if you ask me. He didn't dodge or downplay any of Jesse's questions. His straightforward delivery, combined with the depth of his insight, suggests a real shift that is happening behind the scenes. This may be one of the clearest signs yet that the atmosphere around disclosure is changing. McConnell is especially significant because of his background. He's clearly accustomed to giving high-level briefings, which allowed him to communicate dense, complicated material with remarkable clarity. Honestly, there's at least a month's worth of follow-up research to do in the many threads he casually dropped throughout that interview. I personally really liked that clip. I enjoyed seeing the 3 different events that he was talking about, with the different warheads and the different UFO accounts that came with those warhead activities. I really enjoyed including the clip of Dr. Jacobs, his account of the UFO shooting laser beams at the warhead and essentially rendering it useless. It tumbled out the sky after that. So I don't know. I just really appreciated this Jesse Michels, Kirk McConnell interview. He comes with a lot of weight considering that he's been on Capitol Hill for like 18 years, so he's definitely one to listen to. And I'm definitely grateful for Jesse for that interview. So shout out to American Alchemy for doing the damn thing. All right, guys, do you believe disclosure has already happened and we're just playing catch up? Is the connection to the Kennedy assassination a clue to how far the cover up goes? Do you believe the atmosphere behind the scenes is changing? And if so, how? Sound off in the comments below and let us know. Up next, Jake Barber and Matthew Pines team up. What's coming next for Skywatcher? Get ready, truth seekers and stargazers, because we've got some major Skywatcher updates that you don't want to miss. In an epic new clip, investigative journalist Ross Coulthart sits down with Jake Barber, whistleblower and founder of Skywatcher, along with the group's brand new strategic advisor, National Security Pro Matthew Pines. So, what does Pines' arrival mean for the future of this fast-growing UFO transparency movement? Is Skywatcher about to go next level in its mission to expose what's really happening in our skies? And what do these guys know that we don't know yet? Hold on to your butts. This interview is hinting at something big, and yes, we've got the clip.
That we have what we call a transition criteria. So before we move from level 1 to level 2 or all the way up to level 6, we have established a criteria for ourselves. And what that means is that this could take a long time. We're not here to produce an entertainment piece. We aren't driven or motivated by putting out a certain pacing of episodes. We are here to do the hard work and focus on scientific discovery. And we're ultimately going to be limited by our own transition criteria on each one of these levels. And with 6 different levels, I can't tell you. What I can tell you is it's been very exciting so far, and level 1 and level 2 have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'll say the last point is a picture or a video is almost never proof of anything, right? Yeah. The whole point is you need multiple different sensor sources, all corroborating the same object from different perspectives, showing anomalous behavior, showing anomalous morphologies, and being able to then validate that the sensors were not malfunctioning and that you see that repeatedly over time, right? And so it's not just a matter of, okay, show me some video of something, and that's going to be the slam dunk proof. It's you have to show your analysis, you have to show your work, which is this is the video, this was the radar, this was the infrared, this was the human observations, and then this was the consistent pattern that all points in the same direction over time. And then you can say, well, this is something anomalous. And we have high confidence that this object is real and is highly anomalous. And so you don't ever speak in terms of proof, you speak in terms of levels of confidence and the amount of independent, valid data that you're basing that confidence on.
This is good. I like the fact that you're not jumping to conclusions. It sounds to me like you're prepared to be transparent. Just for the sake of our audience, let's go through the levels that you've just described there. So level 1 is preliminary observation. Level 2 is structured data collection. Level 3 is analysis and hypothesis testing. Level 4 is independent verification and peer review. Level 5 is public disclosure and review. And level 6 is full disclosure and integration. Now, right. just so I can encapsulate this, one of the other things that's in your document is you've got a new term for what I would call the psionic inviting or summoning. And I can understand why you've changed the term, because it's a fairly loaded term. And you've got this new term, which is neuro-meditative, what are you calling it? What are you calling it, Jake?
Neuromeditative interaction or we call our psionic assets neuromeditators. So
So neuro meditative interaction, that's
Yeah.
what we previously have called psionic. And the other one is electromechanical signaling, which I've previously known as the dog whistle. When I interviewed you earlier this year, you referred to how in your previous role in the program, there was a device used known as the dog whistle.
Correct.
And so there's two different techniques here. One is electromechanical signaling, and the other is this neuro-meditative interaction.
Yeah, to go back to keeping it kindergarten, like we have machine-based calling and measurement, and we have man-based or human-based calling and measurement. And they're both used on both ends of that. So the neuro-meditative process is also one that we use for data collection, if you will, not just the calling or luring process.
So why is there this semantic change? Why have you moved away from the word psionic, and why are you moving away from the word dog whistle?
I mean, I'm not sure. Oh, go ahead.
I don't know that we're moving away from it. I like the word psionic. I hope it's not short-lived. And I think we'll, just as creatures, as humans, we'll gravitate back to these kindergarten type terms. But we also, because the phrasing is going to help us identify what it is. When we look at neural meditation, well, that has a very specific meaning, and it categorizes better where we are directing our experiments and our efforts. Psionics is like, it's a sexy rock and roll term for what it is, which is great to have in the public vernacular. But when we are trying to really pin down what it is, we need to assign, I think, more appropriate names that describe the direction of our research.
Right. So we have kind of two somewhat world-shaking propositions that we want to put to the test, right? One is, are anomalous phenomenon real in the sky, right? Highly anomalous, exotic objects or crafts or entities with, a very non-terrestrial or prosaic morphologies, and are there capacities of human beings that have not been fully appreciated that can be relevant to understanding those UAP phenomena? Like, those are two equally sort of groundbreaking questions. We're trying to collect data on them at the same time, right? So no small task, right? But you have a very high bar you're trying to clear.
The other thing that people have jumped on is, I think in one of your original videos, there was an image, a cutaway of a machine gun, I think a 50 caliber machine gun. What's it for?
The machine gun. First of all, so it's for self-defense. We are very safety and defense oriented, and safety and self-defense is paramount, and it's the platform that allows everybody to do their job stress-free.
So again, within the constraints of what you're allowed to tell me, would you ever use any kind of offensive weaponry, be it conventional, say a machine gun or a rocket launcher, or a high pulse microwave weapon, to down a non-human craft?
No, and that's highly illegal. Everything we do is done in accordance with our FAA and FCC operational, what's called op specs, and we don't do anything illegal out there.
In addition to that, Skywatcher published an article on X called the Skywatcher Discovery Framework. The post reads, Skywatcher is proud to publish our Discovery Framework white paper linked below. The white paper defines a stepwise progression to guide our systematic investigation of UAP. This document is intended to bring transparency and credibility to the pursuit of truths that lie just beyond the current frontier of understanding. In it, we describe two of the techniques we use in the field to attract and study UAP. We have made significant progress in our field research, and the Skywatcher team is prepared to set an ambitious but achievable goal: to scientifically resolve whether electromechanical signaling or neuromeditative interaction are credible and repeatable processes for attracting UAP by the end of 2025. Achieving this will require a monumental interdisciplinary effort, drawing expertise from data science, engineering, physics, psychology, and other fields. This is not a challenge that Skywatcher can tackle alone. It is a community effort that will require open collaboration, transparency, and rigorous peer review. We invite researchers, analysts, and enthusiasts to contribute to this work, ensuring that all findings, whether validating or debunking these techniques, are robustly tested, widely reviewed, and fully accountable. You can find a synthesis of various stages of discovery below. This framework is designed to accompany the upcoming release of the Skywatcher Part 2 video series, our UAP classification taxonomy, and further data releases. You can find the full Skywatcher discovery framework here. It will also be available on our new Skywatcher website that will launch next week. Okay, so there you have it. Those 6 stages are pretty impressive. If you look through them, it seems like they definitely have this whole situation pretty well thought out. It seems like they have a game plan in mind and they're sticking to it. The thing that I really appreciate the most that Jake said is that he's not on anybody's schedule to get this stuff done. They're going to get it done as it happens and take their time with it. They're not on any kind of like, calendar schedule where they have to have a new video out every so many days or so many weeks. They're doing it. They're only releasing videos as they become available, as they call these things in, gather data, analyze the data, and then have something to say about it. So I think that that's good. To me, that adds credibility, because if you force content, it's most likely fake or just, not very accurate. So I would rather them take their time and do it as it comes versus just trying to pump out content that has nothing to do with anything and, muddies the waters more than helps add clarity to them. Also, in terms of Matthew Pines being on the team, I think that's very, very interesting. He, joined the UFO scene late last year when he was talking about the coup de grace that was going to blow disclosure wide open, which, by the way, I still don't think we even figured out who that was. Did we figure out who that was? I mean, my theory is that it was Trump, but so far Trump is not really holding up to what I thought he was going to do. We all really thought that he was going to be having UAP disclosure, at the forefront of what he talks about. And so far it seems like less than an afterthought. And that's actually something that we're going to be talking about later on in the show. And other people are going to comment about that as well. So I don't want to get too far into that rabbit hole or line of thinking, but I just figured I would mention it. Okay, so what excites you the most about Matthew Pines joining the Skywatcher team? How do you think this new partnership could expand the disclosure movement? What topics would you love to see Skywatcher tackle next with this new momentum? Let us know in the comment section below. Next on the docket, JFK Assassination Hearings. Is the truth finally here? Big moves are happening on Capitol Hill, and for the first time, we're getting a front row seat to see what the new task force on the declassification of federal secrets is all about. This week, the House Oversight Committee kicked things off with a historic hearing focused on the granddaddy of all government mysteries, the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. That's right. The very first public action from this brand new transparency task force is digging straight into the heart of a decades-long cover-up. Now, over 2,200 newly declassified documents are on the table, thanks to a wave of pressure and a push from President Trump to finally release the rest of the files. Is this the beginning of real government transparency? Could this task force be the one to finally peel back the curtain, not just on JFK, but on all the secrets hiding in those classified vaults? Let's get into what was revealed, what's still missing, and what this could mean for the future of disclosure, from JFK to UFOs and beyond. In this next clip, we will get a look at what I consider to be the highlights of the recent hearings.
The Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets will come to order. Welcome, everyone. I request unanimous consent that Mr. Biggs of Arizona, Mr. Perry of Pennsylvania, Mr. Ogles of Tennessee, and Mr. Moskowitz of Florida are permitted to participate in this hearing for the purpose of questions. I now recognize myself for the purpose of making an opening statement. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues, distinguished guests, and fellow Americans watching today. We stand at a pivotal moment, a juncture where history demands our unflinching attention and our unwavering commitment to the truth. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy on November 22, 1963, remains one of the most defining and haunting events in our nation's history. For over 6 decades, questions have lingered, shrouded in secrecy and speculation. With the recent efforts made to declassify over 80,000 pages of classified documents, fighting against the prior the previous administration, We have an unprecedented opportunity to peel back the layers of the dark day and lay bare the facts for all to see. For the first time in years, we are seeing a complete cooperation between the U.S. government enterprise. Today marks a historical day in our nation's history. After over 80,000 pages were declassified by this administration and previous documents declassified under previous admins were located at the National Archives, it is time to present the findings to the American people so that they can determine the truth for themselves. What has been alarming to me is the amount of stonewalling the federal government put forward to hide this information from the American people. The days of overclassification in the name of national security is coming to an end. The revelations emerging from these files are nothing short of staggering, discoveries that challenge the long-held assumptions and raise profound questions about what we've been told happened on that day. Investigators poring over these pages have uncovered evidence that demands our scrutiny, evidence that suggests the official narrative may have been incomplete at best and at worst deliberately obscured. It has become apparent that in this investigation, some factions of the federal government did not want to be transparent. This type of perspective cannot exist in a free and fair society, and today we have called some great witnesses. To be quite honest, we had more, but for various reasons, those individuals did not want to come forward. I also understand the implications that this has on the family, and it is not our objective to reopen old wounds, but to ensure that what happened to President John F. Kennedy can never happen again in U.S. history. Let us proceed with the seriousness this moment demands for the sake of justice, for the memory of President Kennedy, and for the soul of our republic. Thank you. Our witnesses today are Mr. Oliver Stone. Mr. Stone is an Academy Award-winning director and has directed more than 20 feature films, including JFK in 1991. Mr. James DiEugenio. Mr. DiEugenio is a researcher and expert on the assassination of former President Kennedy. He's an accomplished author and has written numerous books regarding the assassination of President Kennedy. Mr. Jefferson Morley. Mr. Morley is a researcher and expert on the assassination of former President Kennedy. He is currently the editor of JFK Facts. And Mr. John Davison. Mr. Davison is senior counsel and director of litigation at the Electronic Privacy Information Center, where he works on a number of issues pertaining to data privacy and protection. Pursuant to Committee on Oversight and Government Reform Rule 9G, the witnesses will please stand and raise their right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Let the record show that the witness answered in the affirmative.
The JFK assassination happened over 60 years ago, and we still don't have all of the facts about what happened that day. Mr. Morley, thank you for being here, and thank you for all of your work that you've done on this. Do you believe that the CIA is in compliance with President Trump's executive order to declassify and release the JFK files?
No. There are important records that have not been provided, like the personnel file of George Joannides. I should also note that as we go through these records, there are still redactions in some of these records. Not a huge amount, but we have not had full compliance either in producing all the records or in completely releasing all the records that were redacted.
And for the record, how many of the JFK files has the CIA released since the executive order was issued?
The figure of 80,000 pages is accurate as far as we can tell, and that's information from several thousand documents.
Are those from the CIA specifically?
Most of the records that were released last month, about 80% of them were from the CIA.
Okay. And how many documents do you believe the CIA still has that either haven't been released or are overly redacted?
Since we haven't seen them, it's hard to put a number on it, but I would put the number in the hundreds. Okay. Hundreds of documents.
Hundreds, okay. And you are one of the foremost researchers on this topic. In your opinion, since the Warren Commission, has the federal government been forthcoming with information related to the JFK assassination?
No. All of this information could have been released a long time ago. By law, all of it should have been released 8 years ago. So the attitude of obstruction and obfuscation from the CIA started on November 22nd, 1963, when CIA officers started lying about what the CIA knew. And that attitude, unfortunately, has continued to the present day.
And we've had several congressional investigations related to these files. During those inquiries, in your estimation, do you believe that any FBI, CIA, or other government officials have lied under oath or deliberately misled investigators?
In my remarks, I identified 3 of them who definitely lied. It's beyond reasonable doubt. Counterintelligence Chief Angleton, Director Helms, and Branch Chief George Joannides.
And given the amount of uncertainty that we have related to these files, do you believe that there's information that we'll never know about because, for instance, maybe the information has already been permanently deleted or the figures involved have died?
I'm actually optimistic that we can get to the bottom of this matter. We have a new attitude on the part of the government. We have President Trump's executive order, which strengthens the existing mandates of the JFK Records Act. So I think if the task force and the public and the Congress apply pressure and demand this material, we can get it and we can reach a decisive clarification about the causes of President Kennedy's assassination.
Thank you.
And what did he tell the Warren Commission in 1963 and 64?
When the Warren Commission came asking Angleton for information about Oswald's visit to Mexico City, Angleton wrote a memo or told his aides that he wanted to, and this is a quote, wait out the commission. He did not cooperate, and like like Richard Helms, they both basically fooled the Warren Commission and deceived them about what they knew about Oswald.
And later, we now have, because of the work of Mr. Stone and others, we have Mr. Angleton's testimony that he gave to the Assassination Committee, the House Select Committee on Assassinations. What insights did we gain from that?
This document was not fully declassified until March 18th, and in there we learned for the first time that Angleton had lied to the House Select Committee when he testified in October 1978 in an office building about 2 blocks from here. And that was never known before until March 18th that he had done that, and that is one of the most significant revelations to come out of this. People will say, oh, well, there's nothing new here. No, there's something new here. The New York Times, the Washington Post have never reported that that 3 top CIA officials lied to the JFK investigators.
Yeah, and the fact that we have 3 CIA officials that lied to Congress for decades, and that it took decades to get documents that should have been released that had very compelling information, and it took 60 years to get that information released, is appalling. And that's why I want to say thank you to all of your work in helping to get this information released.
Thank you.
I'd like to now recognize Mr. Crane for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Chairwoman. Thank you guys for coming out today. You guys have probably forgot more about the JFK assassination than I'll ever know, so I'm still going to ask you some questions, and I appreciate your, just how dogged you guys have been on this for decades. Mr. Morley, I want to start with you. What is the most interesting information you found in this newest release of documents on the assassination of President Kennedy?
The 9 memos about James Angleton that were fully declassified on March 18th is the most important collection that I've seen so far. There is a lot of information that has come out. Jim mentioned the Arthur Schlesinger memo. That really sets the stage for the alienation between the Kennedy White House and the CIA that lasted for the rest of Kennedy's presidency. So I would say that the Angleton memos and the Schlesinger memo are the most important things I've seen so far.
Thank you. Mr. Morley, do you believe that Oswald was recruited and being handled as a source for the CIA?
I believe Oswald was an agent of influence who was manipulated by the CIA.
Okay. And as I was going through some research, one of the things that I found interesting, and please correct me if I'm mistaken here, any of you guys on the panel, but Mr. Underhill, who was a CIA agent himself, who apparently left D.C. the days after the assassination in a hurry, Gary Underhill then confided in a friend that a clique within the CIA had assassinated Kennedy. He also told his friends that he may need to leave the country and that he feared for his life. Mr. Underhill was then found dead 6 months later. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Morley. Do you find those types of stories surrounding Mr. Underhill to be credible?
Mr. Underhill was hardly alone in suspecting CIA involvement of the assassination. President Harry Truman suspected it, President Johnson suspected it, and President Richard Nixon suspected it. So I think that Gary Underhill was a man who worked in the intelligence community and was in a position to know something. His story's not confirmed, but it's consistent with what lots of other people thought.
What was his title? Do you remember, Mr. Morley?
He was not a CIA employee. He was an arms dealer who assisted CIA in acquiring weapons and shipping them.
Do you know how he died, Mr. Morley?
I don't know anything more than was reported in the documents.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that clip because I believe the full video was about 2 hours. If I remember correctly, it was 1 hour and 50 minutes. And to be honest with you, most of it was pretty painful to sit through. I mean, I don't want to poo-poo on the party or anything, but like, in my opinion, most of it was a shit show. I mean, I don't want to poo on the party. You guys need to go watch it for yourselves if you haven't seen it in its entirety and you want to form your own opinion, go check it out. The thing that I despised the most during that whole entire hearing was the many opportunities for personal political soapboxing that were taken, and how more than half of the hearings were people just kind of complaining about and bringing up other things that had like no relevance whatsoever to the JFK file situation. Like there were people bringing up Trump and bringing up Trump and bringing up Trump and bringing up all these things that like had nothing to do with anything. And it was just like, I don't know. I brought to you what I felt like was the most valuable pieces from there. I could have clipped other parts where, Oliver Stone was talking or Mr. D. Eugenio was talking, or the other guy, forgive me, I can't remember his name, the one who kept talking about Social Security numbers. But overall, I don't think I was too impressed by this, to be honest with you. I'm trying to be really positive here in how I report this to you guys. It was good to see that we got the thing kicked off. It was good to see that they're reviewing the documents, and it was good to hear how they reviewed what's actually new coming out of these documents. And also keep in mind that this is just like the first wave of the release. We got 20 out of 80K pages that are supposed to be released, which means there's still 60K pages that are left to be looked over by us. So there's still more to come. This was just the first hearing that the new task force has put out. And if you go based off of the UFO community's reaction to it, I don't think too many people were impressed, but you guys know me by now. I try to keep a positive spin on things. So I'm just going to say that I'm glad that they reviewed the new information. Yeah. All right. So do you believe the JFK story connects to broader topics like UFOs, national security, or advanced tech cover-ups? Does learning about JFK's case shift your view on modern government transparency? And what theories have you heard about JFK that these new documents might confirm or debunk? Make sure to go to the Lato Files Discord server and share your thoughts with the community there. An invite link can be found in the video description box below, along with all of the other sources that are featured in the show in the order that they appear. So please make sure to check that out. And last but certainly not least, drones, helicopters, and near misses. The latest on the UFO drone crisis. The UAP drone flap is far from over, and it's becoming more evident that the situation is raising concerns, yet the Trump administration's response continues to leave many feeling unsatisfied and frankly frustrated. Recently, a police helicopter in Suffolk, England, had to abort its mission after coming dangerously close to a drone. This near miss only highlights the escalating frequency of unmanned aerial vehicles sightings near military bases, including RAF Lakenheath and Mildenhall, and other strategic locations. While Freedom of Information Act requests reveal disturbing drone activity, the lack of transparency surrounding these incidents has fueled widespread public frustration. With key drone sightings being brushed off as unremarkable, many are left wondering, is the government truly addressing the risks, or are they allowing this UAP drone mystery to slip through the cracks? A tweet from Ross Coulthart says, FOIA confirmation that a police chopper had to take evasive action to avoid collision with an object, drone, over UK RAF Lakenheath. Video suppressed for national security reasons. So obviously we can't bring you the video because it's been suppressed. They're not releasing it to anybody. What they did do, however, is write an article. And Christopher Sharp chimes in by saying, the drones were flying in set formation and then immediately locked onto the helicopter, the source said. Long-range UAVs or drones that the military use, there's a couple of seconds lag in the system. A report from the pilot said it must have been controlled by a controller within the UK, as there was no lag in the response. When the police helicopter climbed, the drones climbed with it. When the police helicopter tried to leave the area, the drones followed it. They were traveling really fast, faster than anything they'd seen before. From police helicopter footage, one of the drones was tracked traveling at 170 miles per hour. Whoa. The officer said one helicopter even caught the advanced drone on an infrared camera in video, which is now classified. Go figure. There is a 30-minute video of the incident, they said. The camera on the helicopter was in IR mode infrared. There is approximately 1 minute of footage when you can see a craft which looks like a fixed-wing craft, and the maneuver that it does on the screen is like a very fast banking maneuver. And in another tweet, he goes on to say the officer told dailymail.com that drones were recorded flying at up to 170 miles per hour near the base, chased a police helicopter, and appeared to be controlled remotely using radio frequencies outside of the normal bands used for military or civilian drones. Wow. I would definitely like to see that 1 minute video, as I'm sure all of you would as well. That must be pretty crazy to see. I mean, if this thing's traveling at 170 miles an hour, I mean, whoa. Definitely would love to see that video. I don't know if we're ever going to get a chance to or not, but that's another story. Additionally, we have a News Nation clip where Ross Coldhart asks Jake Barber about the ongoing drone incursion. Let's take a listen.
Jake, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about something that Dr. Professor Gary Nolan said a couple of days ago. He did an interview and he said that Skywatcher observed unexplained things that moved in anomalous ways during the New Jersey drone wave.
Yeah.
When you have drones coming in from the ocean, he said, and then returning to the ocean, that's not hobbyist drones. Did you get the impression that some of what you saw when you were observing over Picatinny Arsenal during the December period for Skywatcher, did you get the impression that what you were seeing was anomalous at times?
Yeah, it certainly met like those first two levels of framework for us. We were in New Jersey for a very short amount of time, about a week. On the first two or 3 days, we got a lot of information, but the weather came in and it really inhibited us to move to the higher levels. It was a pretty chaotic situation. But I can tell you that what we did see when out there was not all explained or explainable by what we're hearing. I worked very closely with the FAA during that time. The FAA wasn't, how do I say this? They weren't aware of and weren't in communication and control with the craft that were flying there, and also not all the things that it's a very busy airspace out there. So yes, most of what you see flying in the air around that area is airplanes and maybe some other drones, but that's not what the focus is. There is a large category of things that were flying in the air, I'll just say illegally, and didn't look like your typical craft, and they were coming from a variety of directions. These are all things people have heard before already, but either turning their lights on and off or disappearing and appearing, and also coming from a variety of directions, which included out over the ocean, which is one of the observation posts that we held when we were out there.
So basically, the official word still from the White House is that these drones over New Jersey, supposed drones, were FAA authorized drones. On the basis of what you're saying there, these objects were anomalous and they were not known by the FAA.
Yeah, I would say that statement is true, but it doesn't account for all the things that were in the air over New Jersey, or for that matter, any of the other geographical locations where we're having similar incursions.
And one last clip from the Jesse Michels Kirk McConnell interview that's relevant to the topic I wanted to include as well.
Trump has talked a lot about other disclosures, a la Jeffrey Epstein, JFK, 9/11, things of that nature. You have the Department of Government Efficiency sort of running, roughshod through a lot of these sort of bloated, agencies. Do you think we have any disclosures on the UAP front, and maybe even, beyond that? Do we get disclosures about, like, is any of Tesla's work still, classified? I'm pretty sure Thomas Townsend Brown's work is still classified by the Navy. So do we get scientific disclosures or disclosures around UAP, UFO?
I really have no idea. Of course, there's been a lot of observers of the UAP issue who have taken heart from the public positions of a decent number of advisors and now cabinet members, and even his national security advisor, saying positive things about UAP transparency. And and there was a lot of optimism that we will see a new level of disclosure and transparency from this administration. So far, I don't think we've seen significant indications that that's going to happen. Frankly, I think the first official act that the Trump administration took in dismissing what was going on up in New Jersey, for example, that this was an FAA regulated set of events, it does not bode well. And furthermore, I think that there's some developing disappointment that whenever the Trump administration lists its objectives with regard to revealing really significant classified information about the JFK assassination, the RFK assassination, Martin Luther King, and Jeffrey Epstein, and so on. They list all those, and then it sometimes seems like the UFO issue is either mentioned sort of in passing at the end or not mentioned at all. So we'll have to obviously wait and see what happens. But I think that there's reasons to be concerned that we might not get the disclosure that people had hoped for.
So there you have it. The UAP drone flap is still ongoing. This is still happening. We still have random ass drones appearing over military bases. Now they're chasing police helicopters. Trump was gung-ho about giving us an explanation. Then he says, oh, they're all FAA regulated and they're approved for research and development or whatever the fuck he said. And it just doesn't seem to add up. It doesn't seem to make sense. Nobody seems to be satisfied with this pacifier of an answer that Trump's administration seems to be giving us. But I mean, I don't know what else to say. Hopefully they'll be more transparent in the future, but it doesn't seem like he has UAPs on the brain at all. And it seems that the UAP thing is only something that is being worried about or talked about by the UFO community. It doesn't seem like anybody else is really that concerned about it, which is concerning all in itself. All right. So what do you think this near miss between the police helicopter and drone says about the growing risks of UAP drones in restricted airspaces? How do you feel about the government withholding video footage from the public? Do you believe that the public is being kept in the dark about what's really happening with these drone UAP encounters? Sound off in the comment section below and let us know. And that concludes this week's UAP Society's weekly UAP UFO News Show. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. And while you're here, please do us a favor and smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word. Let's raise the collective consciousness together in unity. All right, peeps, much love, peace, and namaste.
Spaceship.